What do Nirvana, Slipknot, Metallica, Slayer, the Deftones, and Alice in Chains all have in common? Well, yes, they all wrote loud, hard-rocking, thumping, revolutionary music that absolutely blasted our eardrums in the best possible way. But there's something else too. Every one of those bands have written at least one song that could viably be turned into a freaking awesome horror movie. Hard rock and horror go together like Stephen King and clowns. Both often rely on dark, intense imagery and themes. Both challenge society's norms, and both push the boundaries of what we are comfortable with. So why not, for one little moment, enter an alternate what-if reality? What if some of these loud, moody, hard rock classics were turned into spine-chilling horror movies? What would the plot be? Who would the director be? And what is it about these particular 10 songs with their dark backstories and disturbing backgrounds that make them the perfect horror source material? From Quentin Tarantino to Wes Craven, from Korn to Black Sabbath, let's check out 10 hard rock songs that could have, should have, would have, and maybe one day will be the next Exorcist. I really hope you enjoy the show. And if you do, don't forget to subscribe. Let's jump in.
Gates into the abyss.
We kick things off with an obvious choice. Revolutionary new metal band Slipknot is no stranger to the world of horror. With their gory masks and unsettling music videos, it's quite easy to see that this band in real life are actually real horror movie fans. But it's one of their lesser known songs off their self-titled album Slipknot that would really make for the perfect horror movie in my opinion. The song's name is Purity. Eli Roth brings us his most gruesome horror film yet, called The Purity Experiment. This horror film tells the story of a group of maniac scientists who are conducting an experiment on human endurance. They lock a woman in a basement and subject her to horrific torture to see how long she can survive. When the experiments start to go wrong, they must face the consequences of their sinister actions and the wrath of their victims. On the highly acclaimed album Diamond Eyes, one of nu metal's most respected acts, the Deftones, brought us what I believe to be one of their most haunting tracks. It's a heavy, droning staccato song called You've Seen the Butcher. The Butcher's Game, helmed by Nope director Jordan Peele, basically follows the same storyline of the song. A woman who is being stalked by a mysterious figure known as the Butcher, but as she tries to unravel the identity of her stalker, she soon realizes that there is way more to the Butcher than meets the eye. If you are looking for a personification of the mashup between horror movies and hard rock, you have to look no further than Rob Zombie, a renowned hard rocker in his own right, as well as a prominent horror movie director, having directed films like The Devil's Rejects, as well as Halloween. Rob Zombie is horror and hard rock's favorite golden boy. Before he directed the horror comedy The Munsters, he actually wrote a song about the Munsters car, Dragula. Dragula's Revenge, directed by none other than Rob Zombie himself, is the unofficial sequel to The Munsters. This horror comedy film follows the story of the Dragula car, which has been possessed by an evil spirit. As the car terrorizes a small town, a group of misfit teens must band together to stop it before it destroys everything in its path. One of my favorite bands of all time are the godfathers of grunge, Nirvana. Now, it would probably be a stretch to call any of their songs lesser known, but if such a thing does exist, it's probably the song off their album In Utero called Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle. The song is actually about a real-life Hollywood actress, Frances Farmer, who was institutionalized and subjected to various forms of abuse. Kurt Cobain wrote this song as a tribute to the Hollywood actress. Once Upon a Time in Seattle is Quentin Tarantino's 10th and final film. The psychological horror movie follows the story of the actress Frances Farmer, who has escaped from the asylum and is now seeking revenge on those who wronged her. With Tarantino's love for Hollywood's golden age, horror films, as well as Nirvana, who credited the director on their In Utero album, Tarantino is perfect. He could give us a wild, comedic, and violent take that absolutely complements the song's heavy tone. Follow the Leader was a massive album for the band Korn, and its single Freak on a Leash has become one of Korn's most iconic tracks. Its catchy yet intense, down-tuned heaviness captures the band's signature style. It also, with its lyrical themes of alienation, frustration, and the struggle to break free from society's norms, basically those themes parallel what we see in a lot of horror movies. And the title alone, Freak on a Leash, basically just screams out for a horror movie makeover. Acclaimed horror movie director of The Babadook, Jennifer Kent, brings us a haunting new film inspired by Korn's Freak on a Leash. In this twisted tale called Freak, a bully teenage girl discovers she has supernatural powers and, much like Carrie, uses them to unleash a terrifying revenge on her tormentors. With its airy atmosphere, gripping performances, and jaw-dropping special effects, Freak is a horror film that stays with you long after the credits roll. Horror is loud and clear in the opening track of Metallica's Black Album. Enter Sandman is about a mythical figure who waits for children to fall asleep and then visits them with the most disturbing nightmares imaginable. In this alternate reality, Wes Craven brings us one of his greatest horror movies yet, The Sandman Cometh. The supernatural horror film follows the story of a young boy who starts having nightmares about a mythical figure called the Sandman. As the nightmares become more intense and terrifying, the boy realizes that the Sandman is not just a part of his imagination, but a real maniac demonic figure that needs the boy and his nightmares to enter the real world. A few years ago, I fulfilled a personal dream when I got to see up front and live one of my favorite bands of all time, Alice in Chains. And things got even better when they ripped into one of their most famous tracks, Them Bones. Them Bones is about the inevitability of death and the fragility of life, and in my opinion, would simply make for the perfect horror movie. Beneath Our Bones is a body horror film directed by none other than David Cronenberg. The story follows a young woman who begins to experience strange and terrifying changes to her body after she starts working at a research facility that specializes in bone regeneration technology. As her bones begin to mutate and grow out of control, she must confront the dark and twisted secrets of the facility and the people who work there before it's too late. With Cronenberg's trademark body horror and unsettling visuals, Beneath Our Bones is a visceral and disturbing exploration of the horrors that lurk beneath the surface of science and technology. Ozzy Osbourne and his pioneering hard rock band Black Sabbath actually named themselves after an Italian horror movie directed by Mario Bava. The song Black Sabbath is about a woman who is visited by a mysterious figure in the night who turns out to be Satan himself. As a tribute to Mario Bava, Spanish director Guillermo del Toro directs the film Black Sabbath, an Italian horror film that follows the story of a woman who is tormented by a series of terrifying supernatural events after she receives a mysterious visit from the devil himself. As she delves deeper into the mystery, she uncovers a dark and sinister conspiracy that threatens to consume her and everyone she loves. With Del Toro's signature visual style and flair for the macabre, Black Sabbath is a chilling and atmospheric masterpiece of horror cinema. One of rock music's most iconic tracks by Aussie rockers AC/DC, Highway to Hell, is about a man who is on a fast-track journey to, you guessed it, hell. There is simply no one more perfect to direct Highway to Hell than Sam Raimi. This supernatural horror film follows the story of a group of travelers who become stranded on a deserted yet supernatural highway. As they try to find a way out, they realize that they are being stalked by a demonic force that is trying to drag them down to hell. When Tobe Hooper made the horror movie that would change the face of horror forever, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he drew inspiration from a real-life murderer, but he wasn't the only one to draw dark inspiration from this demented figure we now know as Ed Gein. From their album Seasons in the Abyss, pioneering thrasher's Slayer brought us one of the most visceral and haunting rock songs of all time. A song called Dead Skin Mask, and it is my number one horror song that should have, could have, would have, and maybe one day will be a horror masterpiece. Unprecedented in horror movie history, John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper unite for The Tailor of the Skin, a slasher film like no other about a serial killer who wears suits made out of human skin. He preys on unsuspecting victims and adds their skin to his collection, and when he meets his match in a tough-as-nails woman, he realizes that his reign of terror may soon be coming to an end. Well, that's it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat silly episode of Den of Horror, where I gave you my twisted take on some classic hard rock songs reimagined in some alternate universe as horror movies. And as for you, fan of horror, feel free to get creative down in the comments below and let me know which hard rock song, or any song for that matter, you would like to see reimagined as a horror movie. Let me know why, who should direct, and you know, all of that jazz. If you like this episode and you like this kind of horror-themed content, please feel free to subscribe. On that note, I wish you all a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay happy, and most of all, stay horror.
Gaze into the abyss.